Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One Stop Co-op Shop, where I discuss 5 key elements of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm in a post-apocalyptic mood because we're looking at Waste Nights. Disclaimer that I was sent a review copy of this one. If you watch my recent Salvation Road videos, you already know that I'm all about that Mad Max vibe. So how does Waste Nights do, trying to capture it in an epic way? Let's find out and get to the list. First, for my number 5, I'm going to start off with a pro, focusing on the characters you control, the knights, and the way they upgrade throughout the game. So first of all, each of the knights begins fairly unique already. They have their own special skill, they have a nice mix of statistics, but then on top of that, they each get to choose a unique vehicle, which can be tougher or faster, can have its own abilities. How cool is that? And even better, each character has a unique deck of upgrades all to themselves, generally 6, that lets you differentiate yourself even more. And then you can get all these different kinds of weapons and gear and armor, so much stuff. Every time you play, you're going to feel like you have a very cool new character with different abilities than the last time. But who cares if you have a good character if you don't have a cool world to explore? And that's my number 4, also a pro. They did a great job with the world building and the theme and the writing in the narration, because make no mistake, this is a book with a lot of writing and a lot of reading. Be sure what you're getting into. But the theme here, the world they've created, yes, it is heavily inspired by Mad Max and the Fallout series. It's not hiding that in any way, but they do a great job of building these different areas of Australia and these different factions you can align with and fight with, and they all have reasons to support them and to hate them. And the writing itself I thought was pretty good, offering you lots of tough choices, making it unclear which way you should go sometimes, giving a lot of replayability as you go different paths. It's just a great thematic job to put the player in this world overall. And strongly related to that is my number 3, also a pro, and that's the great scenario variety in the game. So you've got a whole bunch of scenarios. Now, not all of them are solo or co-op friendly. A few are competitive, but the vast majority can be played co-op. And there's a lot of diversity in these scenarios, not only in what you're actually doing and trying to accomplish, but also in the theme. They each have their own entire section of the storybook all for themselves. And what's even cooler, really impressive, is that generally speaking, in each of these scenarios, you have at least 2 branching paths right from the start, which means you will literally see none of the same entries, none of the same events. So it's really like you have at least double the scenarios as what you think, because you can see entirely new things going down the same general journey. But I'm going to finally get into a mix in my number 2, although I still really enjoy it, so I lean pro, and that's the combat in the game. And the pro and the con kind of go hand in hand for this one, because it all comes down to the same thing, and that's that combat is fast and furious. You get a single attack roll against the enemy. They get a single attack roll against you. And if you don't kill them, they're gone. And that's both wonderful because you never get totally destroyed because you got into combat with somebody who's too tough, but it also can be agonizing and frustrating when you really need that kill and you don't quite have enough mitigation options to get that final hit to finish them off. Now again, I lean pro on this one because I don't mind the dice luck, and the fact that combat never lasts more than like 30 seconds is certainly great, especially in cooperative play, but I can totally see some players getting angry with this one. And my number 1 is also going to be a mix, although I would say this one leans pro with 1 or 2 players in the game, and then goes down to like mix or potentially even con with 3 or 4. And what I'm talking about here is the general action framework and how a round of the game progresses. Your turns in Waste Nights are generally super simple and straightforward. You have a small list of actions and you can do 2 of them, so you can like move and explore or try to heal and then buy stuff in the city. And you only have to deal with enemies and encounters when you move, so turns can be lightning quick, especially with combat so simple. Like literally should never take more than 30 seconds or 1 minute. That's where the positive comes in. But on the negative side, you've got those narrative stories I've already mentioned, and if all the players at the table aren't invested in those, the game can come grinding to a halt. Now with 2 players, you'll have one reading and the other making choices, so it's always okay, but 3 or 4, you might have that odd person out, and again, if they don't like listening to story being read to them, they're gonna get bored. And the other element that could bring this down to a mix is that even though you have this great variety variety in scenarios, in the end you tend to be moving around, fighting some things, and then having an adventure, moving around, resting, having an adventure, moving around, fighting some things, having an adventure. The straightforwardness of the actions might make it seem too simplistic and repetitive for some players. So overall, I'll say this is a big recommend to adventure game fans. If you like Fantasy Flight's Fallout game, I think this is way better than that one. If you like things like Runebound, wandering around, making your character stronger, having narrative adventures, you might really enjoy this. On the other hand, you might want to avoid this one if you don't like the idea of the very all or nothing combat where randomness can play a big factor. And also, if you're mostly going to play the game with 3 or 4 players, be careful because downtime could be an issue, especially if you're not sure you'll like listening to a lot of flavor text because it is all over this game. And hey, if you'd like to see the game in action, click the link that just popped up to see me playing through one of the solo kind of tutorial missions. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.